Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Categorically Romance Podcast. My name is Bree, and I am so excited for my chat today. I, in parentheses, finally have author Michelle Lindo-Rice joining us. Michelle, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be on your show. I've seen you post on, I guess, X, it's called now. And so
Yeah,
I'm excited to come on and talk with you. Thanks for having me.
we're so happy to have you. So, can you, with this being your first time on, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am fortunate and blessed to be an author with Harlequin. I write for a couple lines for Harlequin. I write as Michelle Lindo-Rice for Harlequin Special Edition and Zoe Marie Jackson for the Love Inspired. When I'm not writing, I'm in education. I've been an educator for over 20 years, and as well as a mom of two sons. I have also been fortunate to found love a second time, and so that is definitely what has inspired a lot of my books of late. And let's see what else. Oh, and when I'm not writing my own book, I'm also working with other authors to get their books out there. So I'm also a literary agent with LCS Literary. So I'm
Oh, yeah,
excited to
you
be here. Thank you so
are.
much. Yes.
Yeah, you do a lot. Okay, I need to know.
Probably too much at times.
You know, I hope that you have a day during the week where you're like, "I'm gonna do nothing today," because yeah, you do.
Yes, yes, yes. No, when I'm doing nothing, I actually am reading or something like I always somehow I'm always involved with books.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
I have to ask, like, the finding love a second time, were you looking for it?
Absolutely not. I just got to a point in my life where I was, and I think every woman should, where you are okay being on your
Being
own
on your
and
own?
living on
Yeah.
your own and just being okay with who you are. And yeah, it came when I least expected it. It was someone that I knew uh, over 20 years ago that um, just passing friends, but I knew his character and I knew, him like that. And we just reconnected. And from that day until now, we've probably talked for hours almost every day. It was just wonderful. We reconnected September 2017, and now we're a little bit older. So, yeah, we got married in November of 2017.
Oh my
We've been
god,
together since.
congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I love how you like, me and, so I'm a teacher, and a
Yeah.
couple of my teacher girlfriends are single, and they're just like, "When's it gonna happen?" And we had this really amazing conversation that centered around the same thing you said, like, I'm married, and I told him, I was like, "Hey, I think, like, some seasons of life require us to just be by ourselves," and that is like, I really think that is so important, like, you
It is.
can do so much, in that time.
Yes, it really is so important. I was a single mom for 8 years because I was married before. And I remember my dad saying something to me. I was just like, what is he talking about? This feels like forever. But when you look back, you're just like, it was completely worth it. Just growing up with yourself and maturing with yourself, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
Yeah.
And then the biggest thing was just accepting myself. I always say if I had this confidence when I was in my 20s, I'd probably be a hot mess. So
Okay.
I had the
This
body
does
to
not
match the
happen like that.
confidence.
It doesn't happen like that, though.
Yeah.
Well, I have some get to know you questions. So, first things that come to mind. First off, tell us 2 of your current favorite things.
So let's see. I have been, okay, let's see. Two of my current favorite things. This, of course, is going to sound really typical, but books are definitely my favorite thing.
Mhm.
And when that's not it, I think just snuggling up and sharing, whether it's watching TV, just snuggling up with my husband is also my next favorite thing.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty corny, but it really is true.
Oh, it's not corny. Oh, especially after you had, like, a long day, like, sometimes you're just like, "I need you to just."
Yes, just just that hand. And I've written some of times of that in my romances, just that hand on your back or something just to ground you. I
Mhm.
call it grounding. Yeah.
Well, what is your favorite season?
Fall. I absolutely love the fall. I think the weather is perfect. I think, just beginning to see, and also because I'm an allergy sufferer, the fall is usually a little bit nicer to me than like the spring. So
Mhm.
I just love the fall. I love, the crinkling of the leaves when you're walking through. I absolutely love the fall.
Well, if you came with a warning label, what would it say?
It would probably say, hmm. If I came with a warning label, I would. Hmm, I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Oh, yeah.
That's my warning label. Yeah, and I was always very shy with expressing myself and my emotions, and that's definitely changed. I'm going to be that mushy person no matter what you think.
Yeah. And that's
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay, this can be any genre. Who is one of
yeah.
your most read authors? We know you love to read, so
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I love Kimberly Lawson Roby, Victoria Christopher Murray. I love Jodi Picoult, Marie Benedict, um, Rhonda McKnight, Vanessa Riley. So many people I have read. So those are among my like most read authors. I would say definitely Victoria Christopher Murray and Kimberly Lawson Roby. I've read all of Kimberly's books.
wow.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Do you have a favorite trope to read?
Yes, I love to read. I used to be a big fan of enemies to lovers, but can you guess? I'm now a huge fan of friends to lovers.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is.
And what is one of your favorite colors to wear?
I used to be in love with the color red, and now it's purple. I just
Oh,
love those purples, I think. And, pinks, but definitely purple. I've fallen in love with that color. So,
just as for
yeah,
purple, I feel like you don't see many, like, you don't see much purple. And when you do, it's
yeah.
just like your eyes just immediately go to it. It is such a pretty color to wear,
Yes.
I think.
Yes, and do you know what color the color that I wear that I get the most compliment with though is like a royal blue. So many
Oh,
people have when I wear blue will say, "Oh, I love that color on you."
wow.
So, yeah. Yeah. But you're right about the purples that there is something that just looks regal about it, and I love the
Yeah.
different shades as well. So, yeah.
Well, we love to hear romance origin stories. So, can you share with us how you became a romance reader?
I mean, listen, I was that kid that went to the library and got a stack of books and then returned the next day. And, you start being, and I started reading a lot when I was, especially like, 13 and 14. So I would go to the library and started reading all the Sweet Valley Twins, and then eventually move on to the Harlequins that I shouldn't have been reading, but hide them under your pillow, kind of thing. Yeah, so that's how I became a romance reader. Was just my love for reading, and I liked reading about relationships. I like reading about love, and what I really liked was happy ever after endings. I knew that it was going to end on a happy note, no matter what the journey was. And so for me, that was really important. And that's what I like about being a romance reader because romances have happy ever after, or what they say now, happy for now. And
Yeah.
so that was how I became a romance reader. Was I and I've always enjoyed reading it, and now I get to write it, which is amazing.
Yeah. I think that's so special that, like, it really kinda started with you just having that freedom to just peruse the library stacks.
Yeah.
Like, I hope that young women are still able to do that. I mean, I know we all still the
Yeah,
libraries are still a thing, they are being closed in some places, but my goodness, that is, like, the perfect place to start, I think. It's just
I think so too. Yeah.
well, from what I could see online, you're because you do a lot, Miss Michelle.
Hmm.
So, your first title that was published was a Christian fiction title, Sing a New Song, which were released in February of 2013. So, okay, you go from this girl that is like getting stacks of books from the library. Talk us through your journey to getting published, and like, have you always been a writer?
Okay, sure thing. Yeah, so, I was one of those people that was a writer but didn't recognize that I was a writer. And that probably didn't even make any
Oh,
sense.
it makes
But
sense.
it's
Yeah.
so true. It was because when I was in middle school, I remember writing a story and I remember it getting like, accolades, but they gave credit to the wrong person in the paper. And and then I would write songs. I used to write a lot of like love songs. I loved writing songs, but it didn't occur to me that, hey, this is a career you could do, and this is something that you're interested in, that you absolutely love. It just did not. I was just on that track with my West Indian parents. It was just graduate, go to school, and go to college and do something. And so, that's how I ended up in teaching, was the next thing that I knew how to do. And then when I was about in my late 20s, I was, my first marriage at that time, and I was going through some things. And so writing for me became very therapeutic. I was just like, I think I could tell a story. And I sat down and I started to write, and I wrote my first book. And at that time, even many years after, I didn't even know that there was a craft to writing. I didn't even know what was considered good or bad. But uh, my friends around me who read a lot of book, and my sister who reads a lot as well, they loved the story. So I knew I could tell a story. So there's a difference between telling a story and then also learning the craft of how to tell a story. And so for years after that, I would send it out. And at that time, back then it was snail mail. So it was mailing it and then hoping you hear back. And eventually it went to email, and but it was mailing them out. And I'd get all these and you had to send the query, send the letter, send the pages, and also include your self-addressed stamped envelope. And so many times I would get no thanks, no thanks, no thanks. And then you know, I was almost 40, so it was 12 years of writing different books. I even self-published. I did a lot of little things. And then my passion, writing was something I did on the side, like my reading and writing life, along with my Christian walk, was just two separate things,
Mhm.
compartmentalized. And then I remember I was just searching on the internet one day, and I began to align my fiction with my faith. And I just Googled, funny enough, like just typing, did an internet search, random like faith books, whatever, whatever, and somehow the faith and fiction retreat pop up, and that was being put on by Tiffany Warren. And when I went on the website, and I lived in Florida for quite a few years, so before moving to Delaware, so um, when I was living in Florida, so I said, "Oh, this is just like a 4-hour drive." And she was hosting the Faith and Fiction retreat, and lo and behold, I read and I saw Victoria Christopher Murray was going to be there. Rashonda Tate, people that I used to read in
You
the
were reading.
library.
Yeah.
And Victoria Christopher Murray is one of my favorite authors, and so that was a name that I was like, "Oh my gosh, she's going to be there." And then I read as well that Joylyn Ross from Urban Christian, that's Carl Weber's line, that she was going to be there taking pictures. And so I said, I'm going to go. And I was absolutely scared out of my mind, absolutely nervous, but I was just like, I'm going to do this. And so I went, and that's where I began to, they had workshops throughout the day. Of course, they had Meet Your Favorite Author, but they also had workshops, and I began to learn, okay, what is a pitch? How should you be writing? And just a little bit that I learned, I ran upstairs to my room and I fixed my first chapter of Sing a New Song because it was already written, and I reworked it. I did all of that to rewrite those first 10 pages based off the little bit that I learned. And so then when it was my time to pitch, at the time I didn't know I was doing well, but Joylyn, and there was like four people around in that pitch event. And so we were talking, and Joylyn began to ask me questions about the story. And so I was telling her, and she goes, okay, all right, send me. She looked at my first chapter, she kind of scanned, and she goes, send me the book and this and that. And that was when I got my first book deal. I didn't have an agent at that time. And that's how it happened. So, my advice to anyone that wants to do this is that there are there are resources out there, and when you can get with other writers, there was no feeling in the world like being able to talk to other writers that knew how you were feeling, that understood your nerves, and that was rooting for you and you were rooting for them. And I ended up being the one person from that event that got signed,
Oh my
and I got the
gosh.
two-book deal.
Yeah.
And since then, my writing has constantly improved since then. And just working on the craft, just getting to know a lot about writing, getting your work looked at by other authors who are also editors also helped to shape me. But then me myself also just taking, reading up on writing, and taking little courses that I think could help me as well. And then finally, after on my third try, I landed my agent. And it was over this series because I absolutely love musicals. I love musicals. And so Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, I think I would love to do a series around this. And and so along with getting involved more on Facebook, getting involved more on, I want to say Twitter, but X, with following editors. There was an editor call for different, just different things, and you try to become more involved and get yourself out there. And that's kind of how it led to my journey of being published first with Urban Christian, which is a division of Kensington Books. So,
So at that time, like, the world of, like, publishing, romance publishing, like, faith-based publishing, like, what did it feel like at the time that you were, like, entering into it?
um, I mean, I think I think that it was very, I mean, it was very exciting. There was definitely like a group of authors that was involved in that.
Mhm.
Victoria Christopher Murray, I believe she was one of the first to kind of bridge this. The world that I entered was that we wanted um we wanted faith-based fiction, but we wanted fiction that wasn't preachy, and we wanted fiction of black characters that looked like us, that sounded like us. So, middle class, that are wealthy, or not just, what others may perceive what what our books should look like. And so it was just a great opportunity because then I get to write these faith-based characters, but they had a lot going on, a lot of drama, which I liked to read. So it was a great marriage between the both. And so that was that was really, I think, on trend during that time. They
Mm.
did end up closing that line though, because eventually they merged with Random House, and our sales wasn't what they would like it to be. And so they ended up closing that imprint. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, like, around that time, I was, like, really big into urban fiction, like, all the suspense, it was just so good, and I also question, like, was it because of where I lived? Like, I lived in Memphis when I was really big into it, like, we had a whole bookstore in the mall. I was just, like,
Yeah.
surrounded by it, and, like, now I I know that it exists, but it's not as visible to me. So I'm always wondering like what has changed? But I know now
Oh,
like
I
publishers close and stuff like that. So
yes, but also bookstores. I can tell you this, that bookstores are also trying to be more inclusive. So there was a time where you and I would have our black book section,
mhm.
and so we would we just go in in Florida in Books a Million. I'm walking right to the back of the store to the left. I know
Yes.
where it was,
Yep.
and I would just head there, and I think though you still kind of have it, it's kind of, they have changed definitely how they organize it, where now it's blended in. They're trying to blend a lot of them in by genre as opposed to by race,
Mhm.
because then there was a stigma to, like, oh, that's the black book sections, and there are others that refuse to go into that section, I guess,
Yeah.
to read. And so I think in them trying to diversify and build all this inclusivity, that they try to move away from that. That's what I think. But there definitely also was a stereotype on the urban fiction books, which weren't true, because a lot of them were, a lot did still get great editing and so, but there's a stereotype that these are just stories that are tossed together. And I remember even doing a book signing years ago, and I remember this black professional woman coming up to me, and she goes, oh, when I see those covers, I don't know what I'm going to get. And I was just like, this is a faith-based book. You're going to get a good story like you would from anywhere else. So I think it's some of those maybe ideas why they tried to do some shifting. you know
That's
I
right.
kind of do miss my black book section, I have to be honest.
In 2022, you released your first Harlequin Love Inspired under your name Zoe Marie
Yes,
Jackson, The Adoption
yes,
Surprise. I remember the cover of that,
yes,
just like me and my friends being like, "Look at this cover, the beautiful little twins." And so that came
yes,
out in March, and then in July, you had Rivals at Love Creek with special edition. So
yes.
tell us about getting published with Harlequin and then like getting both lines. Like we get these books within months of each other. So how did all of that come to be?
Okay, sure. So with the adoption surprise, Dina had written a tweet, and she had said, I'd love a retelling of Sister Sister. And I was like, ding, because that was our show, one of my shows growing up, with Tia and Tamara
Yes.
Mari. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I could totally do this. And so I had like, written on, I had answered her tweet and go, oh, I could do this. And but then I got scared and I deleted my response. But then I started working on it. And then Harlequin had this big push for, we need more black authors or whatever. And so there was an event where she was, and so we reconnected again, and I pitched her that story, and myself and Latoya, my agent, read through, get the packet together, and sent it to her, and she loved it. She gave me some suggestions, but it was definitely inspired by Sister Sister. And then, I think I was talking about earlier how I love the Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. So I
Mhm.
had this, it wasn't titled Rivals at Love Creek at the time, but I had this story completed, just sitting, and I had worked with different editors to try to get it where I thought it should be. And it was just sitting there. And Latoya happened to be talking to Gail Chassan at Harlequin, and she was just talking about something else, completely unrelated, just chatting about clients or something. And she just happened to mention that, oh, I have an author who's writing. I had this book that another editor had asked for. I had this pitch idea for the Valentine's story, and I had that book. That's the other thing too. I always write a lot of ideas. I have books, at that time I had books sitting there, so it was just okay when this opportunity comes. And so Latoya was just talking to her, and then Gail was just like, "Oh, I'd love to see it." And then she, within literally, it happened like, "I'd love to see it," and then she goes, "Oh my gosh, she is going to sign you." And I said, "What?" Literally just like that. It was, she wanted to see it. She took a look at the Valentines. She liked the concept of the seven brides, and she goes, "I'm going to sign her for 3 books."
Oh my
And
gosh.
and that's how it happened. Just an agent to editor conversation, and she looked at my Valentine's Day book, and she loved the concept. And that's the Valentine's Do Over that came out with special edition. And so Rivals of Love Creek is the first in the Seven Brides for Seven Brothers series. So since then I just, the fourth is coming out February 2025. So when you see them come that close together, it's, the books have been written about a year prior. The editor usually gets it. So if a book is coming out, like my book that's coming out February 2025, they generally get it, the earliest, the latest they could potentially get it is 10 months, but it's usually about a year or more that the book is written, because then it has to go through editing, it has to go to copy editing, it has to go through a lot of things, and publishing takes, works off schedules.
Mhm.
And so when you see that you're, like this year I have 4 books coming out. Yeah, no, I didn't write 4 books at one time. I am
Okay.
writing. I cannot. I have tried to like touch a little here and keep going there, but it definitely is a juggle. It definitely is, butt in chair, hands on the keyboard after work, working and writing to get those done. But you picture they're about minimum 10 months away from deadline, and so I write one book at a time, and I sit and I get one done, and then I try to space it out realistically. I use like an app, and I'll say, this is my intended word count, and this is the amount of time that I have. And, it tells you how much words you need to get done every day to meet that deadline.
Are you like a plotter or are you a pantser?
Yeah. Okay. So I am a pantser by heart.
Okay.
However, when you are writing, when you're pitching like your next book, or, with your editor, you have to write a complete synopsis. And I'm not talking like a 1 page or a 2 pager. This might be about 6 to 7 page. Like you are writing out the entire book before you even start writing. And so I have to do that plus generally the first 3 chapters, right? So yeah, I do that and I get that to them. But by heart, I am a pantser. So now I call myself a plantser, where I have to write this full thing out. But when I start writing, there's inspiration that comes to you. And so you flesh the characters or more, or there are times where I've deviated and I've had to go back and reread my synopsis, particularly for love inspired. They
Mhm.
really look at your synopsis. And so I have to go back and go, oh my gosh, where did I go? What did I do? And how do I fix this? So I still stay kind of true to the main story that I said I would tell. I always deviate, though. I'm definitely a pantser by heart.
Being a pantser, like, is there a part of the book that can be challenging for you? Like, is it like that first chapter?
I would say around the middle.
Okay.
We have what you call in writing, be careful of the saggy middle. So, yes, I will definitely pants while writing, but like I said, I think I'm more of a plantser. I'll definitely stop, give myself that think time, work through certain plot points, because plotting is important too. So I'll have little notes of, this is what I know what I want to happen, this is what I know what I want to happen, and then I just write. But I try not to plot too heavily, because I find then that I'm sitting at the keyboard and stuck. So I allow myself the freedom to write, but I do have to do stop and do some plot points, especially within the middle, because you don't want to have what they call that saggy middle in writing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, creatively, writing for both Love Inspired and Harlequin Special Edition, like, what are you enjoying about writing for both lines?
Well, what I enjoy about writing for Love Inspired is that the last 2 or so years has going through some things and extremely tough, extremely emotional, and writing for an imprint like Love Inspired, where you get to write, these nice, uplifting stories, but that's faith based. They really helped me a lot because I felt like at times where God was ministering to me first and then I ministered through the book. For example, the Christmas switch, when I was writing that, I was going through such a difficult time. And I remember, but I had a deadline, it's a business, it's work. And I was working on it, and there was a scene with my characters in the garden, and it was just you get the chance to meditate on the word, and you get a chance to be ministered to yourself. And that's what I like writing about with Love Inspired. With Special Edition, what I love writing about it is that you just get to it's a lot less conservative. You get to just write the story you want to tell, and the characters, they can uh they can live together or not. It's just a lot more freedom, it's just a lot more fun. You get a chance to write these cutesy, these cutesy title, like for example, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, those kind of things that I like. I'm one of those people that like reading series.
Mhm.
I know a lot of like my readers say, I wait until the full series is complete and then I'll read it all through because I hate waiting. But these are still standalones, but they just happen to be brothers in a series. And so that's what I like creatively for both, is that one, you just get to spread your wings and try this or try that, and the other one really really ministers to me personally as well. And you get a chance to reach readers that will say, I really was inspired by this story, and I see how their faith helped them.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I enjoy it. Yeah.
Well, you have 2 upcoming special edition titles that we have to look forward to. So we have A Beauty and the Beast releasing in August, and I love that, A Beauty in the Beast, and then A
Mhm.
Fortune Thanksgiving in November. So can you tell us a little bit about what these are gonna be about?
Yeah, so A Beauty and the Beast is actually a fun read. It's a shorter read. It's a standalone, and it's as the title suggests, it's about two people, Eden and Mason, and they both have something that can be considered beastly about them. Whether it with Eden, it's her physical appearance, because she was in a childhood, like a childhood fire. But then you have Mason, who was this spoiled reality TV show star, and they both need. She's reclusive, and he's this media star, and they both need that redemption. And so, in A Beauty and the Beast is where you see them come together to repair her grandmother's home, a bed and breakfast home, and you just get to see that love relationship between them develop, where he's helping her, but then she's also helping him. They both help each other become a better person. There's also a bonus story, the 10-day bargain, as well. And The Beauty and the Beast is actually coming out in 2 days, July 23rd. And so I also do have the Bookshop Sisterhood that's coming out July 30th.
Yeah.
And that's my big book with Mira that I'm looking forward to. But then, as you asked the question, with special edition in October, I was given this wonderful opportunity to write one of the books in the Fortunes of Texas series, and this has been going on for, oh my gosh, I don't even know, years and years. With Harlequin, they have been doing their Fortunes of Texas, and I write. book four in their next spin-off, on the series. And this is where you see that hunky cowboy. That's my first cowboy too.
Okay.
The hunky cowboy, where with the little baby in his
There's a
hand.
baby on the cover, yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, and it's such a gorgeous cover. And so with a Fortune Thanksgiving, I get to write about one of my favorite holiday, which is Thanksgiving. And Nash Fortune is reunited with Imani Porter. And he doesn't know it at the time, but it starts in true Harlequin fashion where he delivers his own baby. And so it's this runaway bride that meets up with the cowboy. And I think people are going to really enjoy their second chance love. It's a reunion love story. And it was so much fun to write. That first chapter, I think a lot of people are going to truly enjoy it. And so that's book four in that. In the series that's coming out actually in October of
okay.
20 of this year, October of this year. Yeah.
How was the experience, like, doing your first Fortunes of Texas, your first cowboy, like, now that it's about to
Yes.
come out, when you look back on it, like, how was it for you?
It was really good. They have what you call a Bible that they give you all the history that you need to know, but because it's a continuity, you're also in a group with it's six of us in this portion of the continuity. So we have this email chain that goes because we are trying to line up everything, make everything correct. But Harlequin has special editors that devoted to this line. So they also read your books and double check and make sure everything is lining up and well. It is a crazy but wonderful and exciting experience. And I actually signed up to do it again. So I'll be working on another book four in this series of the Fortune of Texas. Yeah. So it's great. It was a lot of fun to
Well, you have
do.
to tell us more about the Bookshop Sisterhood. So, what is it
Oh,
about?
yes. So the Bookshop Sisterhood, it's about four friends in Delaware because I live in Delaware now, and in Delaware, and they love books. This is where they bond over books, and they have their little book club of four, and they meet consistently over books. So these four friends, they decide we're going to open a bookstore together. And what happens as soon as they decide we're going to do this bookstore together, they each hear four words that change their lives completely. So you have the four friends together, but you have a lot heavy on the drama. You have a lot of drama that goes on with these four friends as they move towards opening the bookstore while navigating all of this drama that's going on in their lives. So you're gonna hear a friend that, here I can't have children, or you won the lottery, or this is not your father. All these things that are happening around them, and how their worlds are just upended. And so as the grand opening for the bookstore approaches, you're like, how are they going to resolve all of this? But they do. And there's just certain pieces in there that spoke to me because I got to pull on, the fact that I have had friends for over 20 years, and you know tried and true friends that have been with you. And I wanted to celebrate that because a lot of time, we see, yes, do you have a little catty things that might occur, but you have your I'm telling a story. I get to add my drama, but I also get to write about friends that are just there for each other no matter what. And that's what I hope people will get when they read the Bookshop Sisterhood, which comes your way July 30th. And so that's pretty exciting for me. It's
Do you
also my first big book with Mira, so I'm
okay.
very, very excited. Yeah.
Do you remember, like, how the book like, what were you doing in life that the premise came to you? Do you remember?
Oh, absolutely, I do. I was watching, snuggled up with my husband, watching 911,
Oh,
and
I love that show.
yes, and Eddie, he was going in the kitchen. I forgot his girlfriend name, but she was washing up the dishes, and he says to her, We need to talk. And she says those four little words. And I got chilled
Mhm.
and goosebumps. And I said to my husband, I said, stop, pause. I said, oh my gosh. And that's how I got the inspiration. I said, what kind of four words could you hear that could change your life, that could do something? And then we started talking through, and I said, four friends who hear four words that change their lives
That changed
forever.
their lives
And
forever.
that's how I came up with the premise for the Bookshop Sisterhood. So it was, you can come up with your own little title. So when I pitched it as four little words. But then it became the Bookshop Sisterhood, which I think marries it so well. I love the fact that there are little books on the cover, and you see this cute little, you know, black woman reading a book on the cover. So, yeah. But that's how it came about. Was I was watching TV.
And the writer brain got inspired.
Yes,
I love that.
always. Sometimes it could be a picture, sometimes a conversation, something like that that inspires me, and I go with it. And I've written a lot of things down, based off that. Yeah.
Well, are you currently working on anything that you can tell us about?
Absolutely. I am currently working on, the Books of Sisterhood is my first big women's fiction. I'm currently writing, well, almost finished. Like at the very end of writing my next book with Mira. And it is another book about friendship, but this time it's around two friends. And um, it's it is a lot of fun to write. There's a lot of moving pieces because I'm toying with even using a journal writing in there. It's kind of like a book within a book that I'm toying and trying to do. Hopefully I'm able to pull it off, and my editor agrees. And so that's what I'm actually working on now. And it's so much it's such a great book to write because I'm focused on like the dynamics of a pair of friends and what could separate besties. So these friends that fell out, and it's 10 years, and they're reunited, and what caused them to come back together. And so that was kind of the storyline around that, and it has a little bit of, not much, but a little bit of intrigue to it in terms of wondering who did what way back when. So they had a secret that kept them together, and that secret actually burst them apart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to when I haven't released a title yet. I do have a title, but we haven't released it yet. I'll probably be talking to my editor and seeing, can I release a title yet, because I know they've selected one. So that's what I'm working on right now as we speak. Very excited about it. Hopefully I can pull it off.
I think it's safe to say you can pull it off. So, where can everyone follow you online?
Oh my gosh. If you put in Michelle Lindo-Rice, you can find me everywhere. I'm on Facebook. I'm on uh, X. I'm on, they can follow him. My website, I'm on Instagram. And so is Zoe Marie Jackson. She has her author page, she has her Instagram page, and her Twitter, Facebook, oh gosh, X page. I can't get used to saying it.
I still
So
say
forgive me,
Twitter, so
but
you're fine.
yeah. But if you go in that internet search bar and you type in Michelle Lindo-Rice, you can find me. And I have had readers that have emailed me. So, yeah, you can find me if you need to reach me. I love interacting with readers. So please find me. Please hit the follow button, and talk to me a little bit. I love it.
Well, I
Yeah.
wanna end off with, knowing what you know now, what would you go back and tell Michelle at the beginning of your writing career?
I would have told her, go look into careers into writing. That's what I would have told her, is that research there. She had no idea that there were, even though you read books, I had no idea that there were all these careers in the book world. It just didn't sync up with me. And so that's what I would tell her, is pursue writing. It really is the passion of, your heart. And not to say I don't love education now, but I would have told her when I was at that crossroads and trying to decide what I wanted to do, that's what I would have told her to do.
Thank you for
For
sharing
sure.
that. Thank you for sharing that and hanging out with us today. This was incredible.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed the discussion and it's wonderful meeting you. I think I follow you already on X, I think it is.
Yes.
And so thank you so much. This was super exciting for me.